Hey guys, hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you guys how I'm developing my game Fabled City. Today I'm going to be showing you guys my code, how I implemented attack mechanics and combo mechanics. So to start, right now you just see a demo level. This is basically going to be the start of my game where a player actually basically learns the mechanics of the game. It's going to be a mirrored background where it basically instances itself every time the camera gets near the edge. Um, it's a weird trick I'll be showing you guys. Basically, how I did it was, you see the image right here is 848 by 480. So what I did was by multiplying at least by four, I got to 5,088, and I used it for the width to expand the image. Kept the height by 700 so that the camera 3D can basically it's a little bit of hard trick I did. Took a while, took about a week, but I used drag margin both horizontally and vertically. Changed it to zero point 0.5 for all sides, and also reposition it because my game is a slide scroller. So the player is not really going to look at the actual ground. It's just background, just a little background, just a little extra stuff to have on the game, for our own look. You don't want to make your game just choppy, even for a developer. But just going into it. This is my demo level. Actually, right now, let me just change it to same scene as. It's basically the game is going to be like a Souls-like game, similar to its dark style. Um, right now, I'm still working on the actual story of the game. It's going to be my first game, so I don't want it to be too big, but I do want it to take some time because I realize that as a developer, you don't really need to watch tutorials all the time. I've been coding for 2 years, and I just realized just about 8 months ago that software development is really just making projects, and it's not just watching tutorials. The only time you really need to watch tutorials, like especially for this one, after I make this video, I do plan on watching a couple of tutorials and also to rebuilding some system, because really tutorials are only used for when you don't know something or you're not clear about it. After that, you learn from the tutorial and you implement that into your game or into a demo, and that's how you really learn. But going back to it, this is going to be level one, room one, because there's multiple rooms. It's gonna be most mirror scene, but mirror scene, the mirror part is just all going to be used for, like, as a player progresses, because the level is going to be side scroller with some platforms and some levels. That's what I'm going towards, but it's also going to be multiple scenes. Cause I don't want the player just to be, moving around just a large level and just a long map. It gets boring. It's repetitive. Um, the best games that in 2D that have the best level design always have multiple scenes, so the players can go back and forth, and also they won't get bored of just seeing the same background or seeing the same style of how the level looks. It's not like 3D where you can make a large level, but it's gonna be level one, room one, and I wanted this to be the start level, so where the player basically, um his mission is to basically head towards, by the game name, the Fabled City, to head to the Fabled lands and into the Fabled City. And from the Fabled City, just is supposed to fight an enemy. The last enemy is the enemy that's been causing a whole bunch of ruckus in the whole story of the game. So that's basically the gist of how I want the game to start out. And it's gonna grow as time goes. I'm a solo developer. Um, I'm a solo developer, and as I learn programming, as I get into my career in software engineering, I will probably be maybe doing this as a side job still. But this is how my first game was to be. I don't want it to be too big, but I also want it to be a good game, because I'm putting a lot of work into this. When you put a lot of work into something, you don't want it to be bad. But going back to it, I wanted this map to be called the. It's called. It's called Galvin Route. I like the name Galvin. There's gonna be like notes in the game. Basically later on in the future when I'm building up the story of the game, I want to implement notes, like notes for the player to actually click on and to have a little prompt of, basically player will get a little text of what it says, and that probably just like how in Souls games, items have uh, intro to them to basically it's basically like a larger picture, but different, you know, in different like in different items. Items have a story that leads to the larger role of the story. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So I do want to have that implemented in the game. But I'm just gonna call this Galvin route, and maybe I can make that into a story of a name why that route is called Galvin, but later in the future. While right now I'm still focused on right now is mechanics and programming, because programming is the big part. Assets I do want to pay people for assets, but for right now I just get my assets for free or I pay for a little bit. Um, but programming is the biggest part because programming takes a lot of time. I have to, you know, maybe I usually get probably a couple of things done in a week because it's a lot of debugging, a lot of documenting, a lot of understanding and implementing. It's a lot of programming comes into this play. So, and I'm a programmer, so I kind of have to show that into my game. So it's a big focus. So I'm just gonna name it as Galvin. But going towards, let's lock that out. Hmm. Sorry, I'm about to. I want to see why. That's new. So demo scene. Maybe I can change from here. That's weird. Galvin. Galvin route. Okay, you can change it from there. That's weird. So maybe that's because I was still on the scene and I can't change it while I'm on the scene. So that's probably why. So I'll learn that later. That's a good something else. But yeah, let me go to my player. Now, I will be referencing two videos that I got my basically my mechanics and my movement mechanics and my attack mechanics. It's really good tutorials to watch, especially the series. Um, I do want to for the attack. The guy has a lot of good tutorials, especially mainly on if you're into fighting games or you're into learning how to fighting games work. He's a good person to watch from. I will be interested in him. And another guy, he's been making a lot of tutorials, especially tutorials on top-down, other platforms, engines. He's a good person to watch from, so I will leave him. But to start off, so first off, you have to if you're new to programming, if you're new to Godot, we always have to start off with extends. Basically, extends does it basically gives the node a script, and the script is the name of the node, and that's basically what it is. You always have to have a extend, or else it's not gonna work. There were times I didn't put a extend, and I was like, why is it not working? And I found out you have to have a extend, and I don't know, it's stupid. Well, basically after this is my player stats, and what I've been trying to do is for the past week right now I've been trying to just organize this code, try to also leave notes for it, so when if I don't come back for it for a week or two, I won't have issues just like looking around, oh, what does this do, or how does it do. And right now, like, I've been coding this on my own, so I do the way I code is much easier for me. But maybe in case someone does want to read my code, he can actually understand. So it's always good to document. Um, Probably that's probably one of the things a programmer does as his job. It's not a job for me yet, but this is probably what programmers probably do the other half of the time. instead of programming. They're either documenting code. We're going through it. We have the constant. We have constants right here for player base stats. Constants basically does not change, unlike var. Var does change, and if you do exporting or onReady, it's always changeable. Well, onReady, no, not changeable. onReady actually boots up when the Steam loads up. But I keep it at constant. It doesn't really matter. You keep it at var constant, but constant because I'm not gonna be changing it. Doesn't need to be changed. But there's limits to it because constant sometimes when you're using a variable, you need to have it. If it's a constant, then you can't change it at all whenever it's going through the process of the script. But with a var, it's possible. As you see right here, with attack delay, base time, roll input, current roll is active. Those are things that change in the process of the game. But constants cannot change. You can't change a constant. If it does, if you do something to a constant while it's running, you basically get an error. So you have to, keep out a constant. But yeah, um, but yeah, leading into that, we have two crucial parts of my attack mechanic, my roll mechanic. I do plan on making a block mechanic right now, but as you see with this level right now, I'm on the focus of just getting this level out and then going back to programming because right now I kind of like how the level looks, and I feel like when you find you're doing something really good and it's working, you should focus on it more and then get back to the other thing because it's best to keep the momentum and then once you're done with the momentum, get your momentum for something else. So right now I've just been focused on just getting the level and also making this as a blueprint because I'll be making multiple levels. So just see how this level looks, and then as I go through, get back to the programming part, and then continue making the levels because those are two of my main focus: getting the mechanics ready for the level, and getting the level ready for the mechanics, so they can both work in sync. So there's a reason why you do certain attacks. There's a reason why the levels like this, so it can pop out with the mechanics and pop out with how the player moves and how the enemy works. The enemies is gonna be a later time. I do want to just have zombies for this level because I'm feeling um more towards like this level being like almost like Dark Souls when in Dark Souls 3 you had zombie like people. Basically they were just fallen enemies, people who couldn't move on into the game. That's how they put it. Kind of weird. Get good, how they say it. But basically, that's where I want to put it. The zombies are fallen people from this probably just cursed land. Getting a feel for this how this looks. But back to player mechanics. Um, Also, so the three crucial parts. You have attack delay and roll input. Now, both of these are used to as timers, and the timers, as you see right here, go into let me show you combat. As you see right here, combat input threshold. So whenever the player attacks, and this is not needed actually. I don't even know why I have this. This is something I was testing out for delaying inputs, but I don't need it anymore. Basically, the input threshold and your roll input threshold are basically end timers. Like you start at 0, and as the timer starts up, basically, if I can show you guys. Huh. Wait, that was something I didn't even know. I don't need this anymore, but that's weird. I just saw something we didn't look properly. Why are you loading like that? I also have multiple inputs. I'm mostly using keyboard inputs, as I'll show you right here. Bunch of settings, input map. Basically, for multiple players, people have different likings. So I'm trying to attend to more different players. I am thinking about using controller inputs. Um, but not now. I'll probably use it for a different game. I feel like controller inputs are more better for 3D games. Like controller, like 3D analog. The analog using analog sticks more better used for those type of games. But going back to how, let me show you guys. I don't know why I'm gonna look into that. That's probably weird. I think I probably messed up the scene. Um, but yeah, basically, the timer works as a end time. So when the player, you know, makes an input for attack, he has 0.5 seconds, less than about yeah, less than a second. Combat the person, yeah, 0.3 seconds, and we'll put 0.3 seconds. So player has an end time of 0.3 seconds, and as soon as he attacks, and if he does not attack, the player goes back to the first animation. But if they attack, basically you have to attack quick in quick succession. If they attack like this, they not only, well, it doesn't change the timer, because if I do this, if I attack like this, the timer still sets. But in that time period, in that threshold of time, they have 3 attacks they can make out. If they do not do that, like this, 2, 3, quick. If they don't do that, they stop and they return back to the first animation. And then the same thing with the roll. Basically, the roll, you can either, as you run, you can do it, or if you turn aside, you can do it. And you can't do it in air. So basically, I want this to be like a very slow game. Players not moving like super fast. The player. I want the players to also see how the design of the levels. Get a feel of the level. I'm gonna get to cameras, but for the players to have like just a good scenery of the level, like to have fun. So I feel like just having slow movements, slow jump, because he doesn't need to be jumping like crazy. The reason why he does that is it's a friction mechanic jump in inside the jump in one parts of my movement. I'll show that later. But she doesn't even move a lot. We've had when you're making a game, you gotta think about how you're gonna play it out, like how you want to play it out and how you want the user to play it out. But that's basically how the input threshold works. And then tactile, you don't need it. I don't need this to tactile anymore. Okay, I think I did mess up on one. I think that was part of something else. This is what it is. From able to write files, see Roman Gold out projects to Fabled City, Galvin Round TSN. Edit state file and use logged or login permission. It's still being used though, so why you're it's file locked or login position permission. Let's see. Sometimes the stupidest thing works. I fixed half of it. What did I fix half of it actually? Oh, wait, hold up. Okay, same close. Maybe that's why. Okay, they fix it. So okay, so saving the scene fixes it. Okay, so back to what I was gonna do. Script. Okay, so friction. I'm gonna give you guys a reference though. The remember to watch the video, understand it. Try to implement it in your game. It's always good to learn from different people. Also, to as you grow as a programmer, it's best when you start off to like learn from different people because you may not know certain things, and there's a lot of things in programming. Even myself, I probably won't even probably take 15 years for me to get to a master level, probably less, but to be like AI good, probably take a long time. I have to learn good math and stuff. But back to what I was saying. So the friction. Now I didn't add friction to roll movement because friction. If you add friction to roll movement, it slows down the player. So if I was to add it, see roll movement code. It's a little note just so I can see it. So if I was to add it, so friction, go true, because it's gonna turn on friction. And friction deals with this. This is friction. It uses alert. It uses alert to slow down the player by getting three values. Three values is the motion is basically your motion on ground and in air. The motion you don't have to. If it's the reason why this part is X is you're actually moving. It's like how I showed you. You have a slow air movement. So that's what deals with it. And the slow movement is from this bad boy. It's different values. It's best to keep it at 30%, 38%, and 35%. The 0.35 is basically in percentages of 35%, 38%. Um, that's how once you slow down per frame by in percentage. I could be wrong, but that's from what I know. But yeah, that's how it deals with it. So you put friction. You can also do it like alert, but I don't really mind. But you put it as a friction. Basically, it's a little slow. Like you don't go the distance really. Or I could be wrong actually. The last build I had actually messed it up. Easy. Might just make this all with that block. Huh. Could be wrong actually. So let me actually add those back friction actually. What was this set? Friction neutral. Motion control dot x equal work. Oh, angle. That's interesting. I think it is what angles. Motion control dot x 0 point. I'll go with 25%. I think I did that right. Same way. Yeah. Hmm. Oh yeah. This is over here. It's true. I don't know why. I'm okay. So basically, I'm trying to test it out to see what I might get out of this. I will be moving back in a second. Just a little interest. Okay, might keep it and work on this still. Seems interesting. Okay. So back to what I was saying. So basically, that's how friction works. There's also another reference I will give you guys. It's from Kids Can Code. Okay, you can look on their website. They have a lot of good tutorials and examples of demos you can try to implement into your game. It's always good to just, as I said, just make a project, make a game, and continue work on it because as you work on it, you're gonna learn stuff that you probably never would if you just watch a straight tutorial. But yeah, so that's how friction works. Friction basically slows down your movement by a certain percentage every frame. Um, as you if you increase it more by like 70%, 70 or even 60%, you're gonna get very very slow and very very slow movement. It's kind of terrible. So it's always best to keep it between 25 to 50% or even less. Like if I move it this to like 1, you're gonna see why. Yeah, that's why. And you also get a little bit of a drive because when you turn, you're basically stopping your right input and going for the left input. And it makes also the way the mouse moves a little weird because you know basically the camera movement works. Camera movement with smoothing. Oh, sorry, what the hell? That's weird. But yeah, that's basically how friction works. I'm gonna give you guys examples of it. This video is gonna be a little long, but while I'm also doing this, I'm also just coding along while because after this, I'm still gonna code this. I just wanted to show you guys how I'm working with this. Um, Next is current roll, and current attack. They're the same. Basically, the mechanics of the combat mechanics is gonna be the same. I find that this implementation is better because it basically works with frames and time. So you can still like the one thing I don't like is that you can do like a fast attack, but that I'm trying to work on. It's more of an input issue than a than an attack issue than the animation issue because the input attack was I want to press it, it just it's going by and by. So what I'm trying to implement is a way for there to be a buffer between attacks and a buffer after you do that attack, and that's basically how I want it to be. Um, I will try to figure out. That's been something on my mind lately. The what you saw before with the yield, that was basically my implementation, bad implementation. Because you still got you didn't get the attack took long, but it was weird. I didn't like it. I'll probably try it again. Just maybe I can do something a little bit with it. But yeah, current attack and current roll always have to be set on 0. That's basically your counter. How many times you can do an attack before it stops. Both for roll and attack. Then going further into it, I have two vectors. The first vector deals with the x, so it deals with the x-axis. The y-axis when you're moving horizontally. The motion up deals with x, the y-axis, mainly the y-axis, just for jumping. Two important, those are important, very important too. I keep it to 0 because you're always going to be a 0 vector. Um, Always when moving. Well, not really. You're still like it's weird, but you're 0, you're at 0 x y 0. basically by scene, but you're moving, so it changes, but you still have XY axis. So you don't have to change anything. Um, up up X has to be 0, Y has to be -1 because you're moving up. Yeah, again, even it's weird. The vector's weird. I'm still learning it right now, so it's a really fun topic just to look into. But that's how it works. That's how it works in a way. But um, but yeah. So then animation. These are like little debuggers just to show me. I don't really need these anymore, but it's just good. It's always good to have have print statements for your inputs just to see if they work sometimes or if they don't. Um, Collision attack disabled. This is basically what tell basically part this does is every time you attack during the input, it enables the collision, and when you stop attacking, it disables it. And that's basically a registry attack. That's the start of how my registry for damage is gonna go about. Um, then after that is basically it's the same. It's it could be different for mobile mechanic, but I found that this implementation is the same. It's just adding basically this implementation took a while. Like there was a lot of errors with this. The errors where player will be in the air and he can still roll. So basically, when that happened, I basically had to shut him down, and that's when I used in zone floor for when the inputs are. It basically, if the player is on ground, that's the only time they can use the combative mechanics. If not, they can't. It's always good to keep this as and when you're doing like this type of input. It can be a little different, but I keep it as that's this. If you don't keep it as if, and then have this because there's sometimes a little issues with that. From when I try to implement. Um, so yeah, the reset deals with this basically based on combat input threshold. So base time and combat input threshold are basically like the base time base time is always going to be 0. The combat input threshold is always going to be 0.3, and the base time has to reach the combat input threshold for it to stop attacking. And this is how many times you could do it. You can only do it once because after your roll starts at 0 and ends at 1. For current attack, you have 3 attacks. You start at 0 and you end at 4. A little weird. Try to keep. This part I was a little confused about because the person had at 5, and I kept that at 3. But since it starts at 0, you it stops basically once you get to 3. So to keep out at higher, so you can finish your third animation, it's at 4. So yeah, that's basically my basically how it is. Function already, it's just like, this is stupid because it still works either way once it starts up for the attack. Um, but yeah, that's it. Yeah. Um, I will be making more videos. Um, also gaming videos as well. And if you like my videos, subscribe and like. Thank you and have a good day.